was gonna say November. No, February. Learn what month it is, my friend. So I'm gonna read this one. I shouldn't commit. This is another book that I read and I really enjoyed, and why don't I get it out for you? But the movie starts terrible ending. Hi everyone, it's Audrey and welcome back to Chapter and Converse. For today's video, I wanted to talk about some of the books to movies, books to TV show adaptations that are coming out in 2019. And there's like so many lists of these out there, and there's so much out there about kind of what's rolling out or what's going to hit the theaters or what's hitting Netflix. But I wanted to just kind of talk about kind of a few that I'm interested in particular, and then also some rumors that I had read about online, which I'm hoping are really true, for some books that I would love to see hit big screen or small screen. Any information I have about these I'll include down below in case I forget to say it in here, or in case I talk too fast and you just are kind of curious about the details. But these are not going to be sort of in the order that they're coming out, because that would make too much sense, but I'm not that organized, so we're just going to talk about them kind of in the order I want to talk about them. So to be clear, some of these are books that I have read, some of these are books that I'd like to read, some of these maybe are just like a little bit of a curiosity. So enough with all of that kind of stuff, let's just talk about the adaptations. The first one is a book that had tons of buzz, and there's already tons of buzz for the film, and it's The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. And this was one of my favorite books of 2018, and I've talked about it a ton. So to keep it brief, the movie version is Amy Adams and Gary Oldham and Julianne Moore, and this is actually in post-production right now and is slated to come out in October of this year. And this book is about Dr. Anna Fox, who Amy Adams plays, and she is agoraphobic. She's a recluse. She, stays kind of holed up in her 5-story Harlem brownstone, and she drinks a ton and she pops a bunch of pills and she's coping with some stuff. And she, kind of passes her day doing, she has like some connections online, and she watches a lot of, old Hitchcock films, and she stares out the window at her neighbors. And one day she thinks she sees something, and it kind of changes everything. So that's this in a nutshell. And I have just seen Amy Adams in Sharp Objects, the Gillian Flynn series that was on HBO, and I thought she was incredible. I've seen her in a bunch of things, but I mean, she's such a great actress, so I am really curious to see how they bring this book to life and how they bring it to the big screen, and this is absolutely one that I am going to be checking out. Next up is The ABC Murders by Agatha Christie, and this is going to be on Amazon Prime on February 1st. And this time around, John Malkovich is playing Poirot. So my understanding is this is definitely like a darker Poirot and a darker retelling, which doesn't totally surprise me, because I had talked about, Amazon Prime did Ordeal by Innocence, and they did Crooked House, which are 2 other Agatha Christie books, and they definitely had sort of a darker atmospheric feel to them, and those were 2 books I haven't read yet, so perhaps the books are also super dark, I don't know, but my sense is that sort of, the ability that Amazon has to create movies and to get star talent, and sort of in this day and age, I feel like darker maybe sells a little bit better. I don't know, but I'm very curious. John Malkovich is just such an incredible actor. I'm excited to see what they do with this and, kind of how they bring this to the screen. It's been done before in kind of the Poirot series, which I don't know if it was PBS or BBC or both, the David Suchet version. So it's been done before, but I'm very curious to see, and I hope this is a trend of Agatha Christie books being recreated on Amazon, because I love them. And I do love the Peter Ustinov version of Poirot, and he was sort of like a little bit goofier. I know that Death on the Nile is also going to be made, and I don't know if this is going to be big screen or small screen. I understand Armie Hammer is connected to it. I don't know that he plays Poirot per se, so there was a little bit less to go on that one. Death on the Nile was also done by Peter Ustinov, so again, I just love that her books continue to be popular and they continue to be made into movies, and I'm excited to see what Amazon does with it. The next one is actually a book I haven't read, and it is Where'd You Go, Bernadette by Maria Semple. And this is one of those books that like I pick up in the bookstore and I put it back down again and I like debate it, but then I don't get it. And I've heard great things about it and I've heard like meh things about it, but it's never, I don't know if it's like just never been the right time, or it's never been the right time where I want to drop the money on it. So I think what I need to do is just like get it out of the library and call it a day, because I'm curious about it. And I'm curious about the movie because it's Cate Blanchett, who I think is great, but kind of even more so than that, Richard Linklater is the director, and he's done so many incredible movies, like Boyhood and Dazed and Confused, and he did the Before Sunrise trilogy, so Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight with Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. And those are like everything. And I just think he's incredible. So I'm very curious to see. The movie intrigues me. And I feel like it's one of those movies that I'm going to want to have read the book beforehand. So I'd be curious if anyone's read the book, what you thought of it, if you would recommend it, if you think, meh, like don't even worry about the book and just watch the movie. But this is one that kind of keeps crossing my paths and like my antenna's up like a little bit about it. So I'm curious, but the movie sounds intriguing to me, partially director, cast to thank for it. The next one I'm super excited about is season 2 of Big Little Lies. It was such an incredible book, and I think they did an amazing job with season 1, and season 1 follows the book. So the end of the TV show, which was like an 8 or 10 part series on HBO, is the end of the book. And season 2 is this whole new story, which Liane Moriarty actually wrote the show, which makes me really excited about it. And I know that, you know, obviously I think like Meryl Streep is in it, and they've got some new characters because there have to be some new people in it. But I'm very curious to see kind of where they take it. And I think they did such a beautiful job with season 1 that I have a lot of faith in it. And kind of similar with Handmaid's Tale, where season 1 of it is where the book ended and then season 2 was recreated. Although, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Margaret Atwood had anything to do with season 2 of Handmaid's Tale. There's obviously so much sort of freedom you can take when you're telling more beyond the story. So I will be curious to see kind of how they explore the different characters and where their stories go, but I'm very excited about it. I don't think there's a release date yet for Big Little Lies, but if there is, I'll be sure to include it. But this is one that's for sure top of my list. The next one is another book that I haven't read, and that's The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. And I did read The Secret History, and I read it twice, and I loved it, but it's the only Donna Tartt book that I've read. And I have no real reason why I haven't read The Goldfinch. I mean, it's huge, which I was, chatting with someone in YouTube comments about this, and I was like, oh, it's so big, it's intimidating. And they were like, well, Secret History was big also, and you read that twice. So, fair point. And I think it's like, the reviews on it, like some people loved it, some people didn't. But again, that shouldn't really matter because I've loved and hated books other people have hated and loved. So it's kind of one of those books where like someday I wanted to read it, but it's never been kind of like pressing on me that like I have to read this book. So that said and done, I am a bit curious about the movie, and I think it's because it's Sarah Paulson's in it, who I love so much, and then Nicole Kidman and Luke Wilson, so the cast seems really interesting. It's shot in New York. I'm always a sucker for things like that. So it's kind of on my watch list. I do feel like I should read the book at some stage, but then, I don't know, like I'm such a, like a mood reader. So I don't own it. I don't feel any pressure to read it. I have kind of just like a soft curiosity about it, but I have a bigger curiosity about the movie. This is another one that I haven't read the book, and it's The Perfectionist by Sara Shepard. And I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't mention this because this is, I believe it's a spin-off of Pretty Little Liars. And I just love that show, even though it got so preposterous. I was going to say at the end, but like in the last 4 TV seasons. And I've never even read any of the books, but this goes to my love of high school and the spin-off TV show, which is going to be on Freeform. And I know it premieres in 2019. I don't know exactly when, but I'm guessing maybe in the coming weeks. But I know that 2 of the characters, Allison and Mona from Pretty Little Liars, are in the spin-off. So yeah, I'm going to watch it. Yeah, I'm 100 and I'm watching a show about like high school kids, but whatever. So that's coming out in the coming weeks. Hopefully it's not out already and I haven't missed an episode, but I'm excited to have the PLL kind of legacy live on. So the rest of my list is sort of rumors that are out there, or things where the rights have been purchased, or they've been announced, and maybe there's some actors tied to it. And I'm secretly hoping that all of these get made into movies or TV shows, because I would love to see all of them. So I'm trying to keep my expectations, level for these, but these are some that I'm hoping actually, are true rumors. And I've talked about this before. The first one is Beartown by Fredrik Backman. And I read online that it's rumored to be made into a multi-part TV show, but the details were so vague. I don't know if it's overseas they're going to make it. I don't know if it's somewhere here. I don't really know who has it. But the idea that this incredible book, which I've just read and cannot shut up about, because I just think it's quite possibly one of the best books I've read in forever. I can start to imagine in my head how this could be brought to the screen and what they could do with it, and how much potential it has. So I'm super excited about it. So hopefully there'll be more to come on that, and it's not just some twisted rumor. The next rumor I read about is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, and supposedly Kirsten Dunst is directing it, and I don't know if this is first time directing for her, but I enjoy her as an actress, so I'm very curious. And Dakota Fanning and Patricia Arquette are tied to it. So I read this book a long time ago. I've read it a couple times. I really enjoyed it. I'd be very curious. I think there was a movie adaptation of this years ago. Maybe I should know. Obviously, I haven't seen it. But I mean, Patricia Arquette is beyond. And I think it would be very interesting to see what they do with this book. So hopefully this is not something that's going to kind of fall by the wayside. So it's another one that I'm going to kind of keep my eye out on to see when it gets moved into production. The next rumored show is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng, and I haven't read this yet. Obviously I have it because my intention is to read it. I picked this up a few months ago, and I've heard nothing but just incredible things kind of across the board about this book and about Celeste Ng's writing, and I haven't read either of her books, so I will. And rumor is that, maybe it's not a rumor, but Reese Witherspoon's production company purchased it, and she's rumored to be starring in it, and Kerry Washington is tied to it, and apparently it's going to be a show on Hulu, a multi-part kind of Big Little Lies style show on Hulu. So I'm really excited. I don't think it's in production yet, but I feel like anything Reese Witherspoon touches kind of turns to gold, and I love Kerry Washington. I stopped watching Scandal kind of towards the end, but I miss having a Kerry Washington fix in my life, so I would love to see her in something different and something new. Another Liane Moriarty book that supposedly is coming to the screen is The Husband's Secret, and I really enjoyed this, and I have heard mixed bag reviews on this from people. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed the story, and Blake Lively apparently is attached to it to play the lead, so that in and of itself intrigues me about the movie. And again, I don't know if it's going to be a movie or if it's going to be a multi-part TV show kind of a deal, but either way, I would fully watch it. But I really enjoyed this one. This is this woman, Cecilia. I haven't read this in forever. And I don't remember if she's cleaning or whatever it is, but she finds a letter that her husband wrote, and it's sort of on the front of the envelope. It's in the event of my death, read this. And she reads it, but the hitch is her husband's not dead. And it kind of changes everything. So I really think it was great. I would love to see this on the screen, and I'm excited. So hopefully this is something that's actually going to materialize as well. Another rumor I read is that One of Us is Lying by Karen McManus is possibly going to go into production by E! For a multi-part teen series on their channel. And I talked about this book, I don't know, in a different video. I'll link it down below. And I didn't love the book. And part of the reason why is my expectations were off base on it, in the sense that it was pitched kind of like a Breakfast Club style thing, where you've got sort of these 5 different kids from school stuck in detention, and the jock, the brain, the princess, the basket case, the criminal, and one of them doesn't make it out. One of them is killed in detention. And this sounded like such an intriguing concept to me, and I thought this was going to be amazing. But what winds up happening is the entire detention scene is chapter 1 of the book, and I thought it was going to be most of the book. So the rest of the book kind of winds up being sort of the investigation into what happened and sort of the explanation and the stories of the different characters and how they befriend each other or don't befriend each other and sort of everything that goes on between them. So it's not that it was bad, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And I said this before too. This made me feel like I was 100. Don't ask me why Pretty Little Liars doesn't make me feel like I was 100. But I felt far too old reading this book. That said, it won't stop me from watching it on TV. So there's no production information about this yet. So I feel like it might be something that like E snatched up, but they haven't done anything with it yet. But hopefully they will, because I feel like this book gets a lot of publicity and press and like good words about it. And Karen McManus just released another book, so maybe there'll be kind of some momentum behind her to help get this onto the small screen. So the next one that's been announced, but nothing's really happening on it yet, is The Girl Before by J.P. Delaney. And this is supposed to be directed by Ron Howard. It's been announced. Nobody's tied to it just yet, but I'm optimistic that something will be made of this. And this is a book where I feel like people either like loved it or hated it. I really liked it. And it's kind of this weird story about this woman who moves into this apartment. And it's this apartment that comes with like all these rules and restrictions, and you have to sign like this 50-page contract and all these things you mostly can't do. And she's, you know, for reasons not important to the synopsis, is kind of desperate and needs a place to live, so she agrees to do it. And obviously things turn pretty freaking weird. And there are, you know, she kind of starts to learn about the girl who lived there before her. So you're getting kind of multiple stories and multiple things happening. It's a little bit bizarre. It's definitely dark. Yes, there's sex in it that didn't really kind of, I think, sit well with everybody. I didn't read like 50 Shades. I don't think it's anything like that. I don't know, but I didn't read it or watch it, so I don't really know. But nothing in it obviously disturbed me. So I enjoyed it. I would be curious to see it on the big screen. I think cinematically it could be very interesting how they do the apartment and sort of kind of how they bring it to life. So another one that I'm going to keep my eye out for. The next book is another Reese Witherspoon production company kind of acquisition, if you will. And that's Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. And I got this for Christmas, so I haven't read it yet. Everybody talks about how incredible this book is, so I'm excited to read it. No excuse why I haven't read it yet. I'll probably read it next month. But I'm very curious to see, you know, kind of what I think of the book, and then, you know, sort of the idea of it being brought to the big screen is always exciting. And I had read somewhere that like maybe Reese Witherspoon would play Eleanor. I don't know if that's true or not. Like I said before, Reese Witherspoon is tied to so much stuff. I don't know how the woman sleeps. It doesn't seem like she does, but anyway, very excited to read this book, and would be equally excited, I think. You know, I hate to say assume I'm going to like it, but I kind of assume I'm going to like it based on the fact that a lot of people whose opinions I respect and I agree with liked it. You know, then to be able to see it come to life would be exciting. And the last one, which sort of randomly caught my eye, is Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret by Judy Blume. And supposedly, according to the story that I read, many people have tried and failed to kind of buy the rights to this movie, and she has said no. But I guess she finally relented, and whether she kind of found the right person in whose hands she trusted it, I don't know. So there's no real details about this other than that she's kind of given, you know, her permission or go ahead to create a movie. And then again, I don't know if it'd be like I think it would probably be a TV movie. I don't know if this would be big screen, but like I'm sure many other girls out there, I remember reading this and so many other Judy Blume books, like Super Fudge and Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing and 15. They were just sort of a girl's Bible in so many ways. But Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret is certainly iconic. Blubber was the other one that I couldn't think of. I mean, her books were just so iconic and such a part of my childhood. I don't know how I didn't think of her when I talked about authors who were meaningful to me in other videos. But anyway, not what you are here for. Supposedly this is going to be made into a movie. Supposedly she gave her blessing. I don't know who would be tied to it or what will come of it, but this is another one that I would absolutely watch, given the opportunity to see it. So that does it for the list of adaptations that I have my eye on. Like I said at the beginning, there's so many coming out. We could talk for days, but I really wanted to focus on ones that I'm excited about, and then kind of this list of like rumors and announcements that really kind of caught my eye that I would love to see brought to the screen. So let me know what you thought. Thank you for hanging out today, and I will be back here soon, and hopefully you'll be back to join me, and I will see you then, everybody. Bye.